Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, breaking down the latest news and rumors on the Cleveland Browns. Coming out of NFL Draft Week, there's some free agency buzz I want to talk about, plus some trade interest potentially. So a lot to talk about on today's show. But let's remind all of our new subscribers here how we like to scale some of these rumors, a scale of believability, if you will, with our friend Bernie Kosar with some Bernie heads. So 0 Bernie heads means the story is fake news, disregard. 4 Bernie heads, Believeland, you can take it to the bank, and we fall somewhere in between more often than not. So with that being said, let's check out our first story on tap today. The Browns' best draft pick. Is it Cedric Tillman? I'm giving this 3 Bernie heads. I know that I come with some bias. As our long-term viewers know, a Tennessee alum, I was very excited about this pick because I know how special of a player he is. And Todd McShay tends to agree. So the reason why we're talking about this is Todd McShay put out an article where he picked the best draft value for each team. And for Cleveland, he went with the Tennessee wide receiver Cedric Tillman. Now, Tillman was the 11th wide receiver selected in this past draft. And go look at any previous draft. One of my favorite things to do is to go back and look at rounds like 2 through 5-ish, find some names that are still bolded and still in the league, and go, how were they the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8th wide receiver taken? They ended up being a top 3 wide receiver in this class. And I think Cedric Tillman at number 11 very well may finish as a top 3 wide receiver from the 2023 NFL Draft. I'm not just saying that to say it. I genuinely believe Cedric Tillman could be right there with the Zay Flowers, Jackson Smith and Jigbas, and the Quentin Johnsons of the world from this draft class. The only reason he was not was because he suffered an ankle injury last season. Jalen Hyatt sort of stole the show, as he should, and as he, deserved to. He had a phenomenal year for the Vols. But Cedric Tillman is an all-time sleeper that some teams might have passed on because they were too busy looking at 2022 film and didn't go back to 2021 when he was a 1,000-plus yard receiver. Now, Todd McShay had this in his write-up, saying, Tillman is big and physical at 6'3" and 213 pounds, and he has a wide catch radius. He's not a burner, but he's a savvy route runner with really impressive body control. Tillman wins on contested catches and plays with enough power to break tackles after the catch. Tillman could quickly become a starter in this offense, especially since he's similar to the type of receiver Deshaun Watson found success with at Clemson, big and physical with good hands. Donovan Peoples-Jones is coming off a good season, but he's entering the final year of his contract. Tillman could become very heavily involved in this offense right away and emerge as a starter opposite Cooper. Now, when you look at Cedric Tillman the last 2 years, you can see why maybe some GMs prioritize other receivers if they just looked at 2022. And shame on those GMs. Just 417 yards and 3 touchdowns. But like I said, he suffered an ankle injury midseason, got surgery on it, so he could return this season, or this past season for Tennessee. So talk about an all-time team player that wanted to finish what he started in Knoxville. But the year prior, 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns in Josh Heupel's first season with, a carousel-ish at quarterback to start. This was pre-elite Hendon Hooker. This was Joe Milton, who is going to be elite this season for Tennessee. Don't get that wrong. But still, 1,000-yard receiver, 12 touchdowns. A lot of people thought he could be a first-round pick going into 2022. Then he gets injured. Zay Flowers emerges. Quentin Johnson emerges. And he somehow slips to round 3. So, off-the-wall question here before we look more at the former Tennessee wideout. Who is your favorite Browns wide receiver of all time? I do these questions on the show once every 3 or 4 weeks or so, because it's always a great time to just scroll the comments section and be reminded of some awesome wide receivers. So let me know who yours is in the comments section. More on Cedric Tillman as we get to know Cleveland's first draft pick in 2023. 6'3", 213 pounds. He's a 2-year starter, was a 2-year starter at Tennessee. Dane Brugler, who I think is one of the best NFL draft minds, had him ranked as his 8th best wide receiver. So I don't know if Cleveland went into this draft thinking we're going to go wide receiver in round 3. They might have had another plan. And when Cedric Tillman was there, they might have deviated from the plan because they did not expect that good of a wideout to be available to him. He's also not one of those grandpas. Like, he just turned 23, so he's still got plenty of career in front of him. They didn't draft a 25 or 26-year-old player, which has been the case for some guys the last 2 years in the draft. Now, I want to bring this up and just briefly touch on this. Comparing Tillman to Josh Gordon, just measurements-wise, okay? Tillman, those are his measurements from the Combine. Josh Gordon was not invited to the Combine, so those are from his pro day at Baylor. I've seen a lot of people talk about maybe Siaka Ika being a similar player to a previous Browns defensive lineman picked in round 1. So the comparisons are there. Like, both 6'3", similar size, very similar 40 time. I'm not saying that Cedric Tillman is on the same career path or is going to have that season that Josh Gordon did in 2013, but don't look at a 4.5 receiver or 4.5 40 receiver and think he can't have great speed in the NFL. No one thinks Josh Gordon was slow, and Josh Gordon didn't run a 4.3 40. So there is something to track speed when there's no pads on, and then football speed when the pads are on and everyone is full go. So this is very premature to say Cedric Tillman's going to have a Josh Gordon career, and that's not the comparison I'm trying to make. All I want to do is just draw the point of, just because you're not a blazing fast receiver and you don't have an out-of-this-world 40-yard dash of the Combine like Josh Gordon did, well, at his pro day, doesn't mean you cannot have great speed in the NFL. We've got more news and rumors to talk about in just a brief moment, but if you have not subscribed and you're looking for a reason to do so, I've got a couple of reasons for you guys. 1, daily videos here at the channel. 2, we're almost at 20,000 subscribers. We're almost at 19K, and then the march is on to 20K. Latest news and rumors always being reported here. Interactive content, we go live weekly here on the channel. Thursdays, 5 o'clock Eastern. So make sure to tune in to one of our live shows if you have not already. Next story I want to talk about here. Are the Browns bringing Kareem Hunt back? The story that just keeps on giving. I'm going to give it one Bernie head. I saw some chatter once again about maybe Cleveland bringing back Kareem Hunt, and I thought we could bring it up because the Browns were pursuing a running back during the NFL draft, it appears. So they failed to land that certain running back. Could Kareem Hunt re-enter the fold? Now, Bleacher Report put out an article where they picked destinations for some players following the NFL draft, some running backs, and they went with the Browns for Kareem Hunt. Now, the Browns were reportedly pursuing a trade for DeAndre Swift, according to the Orange and Brown report. So, they did not land DeAndre Swift. Does that signal that they are still looking for a veteran running back, and Kareem Hunt could be their plan B all along, and since they missed on Swift, they'll pivot to number 27? This was the report from the Orange and Brown report that I'm referencing, by the way. For what it's worth, as Brad Steinberg tweets out, Browns remain in the market for a backup running back. They've explored plenty of options this offseason, including players like DeAndre Swift. They've also touched base with younger players and vets on the free agency market, which remains the most likely option. Now, he does not name Kareem Hunt, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist to connect the dots. Browns looking for a running back. Kareem Hunt's a free agent. Could there be a reunion? Now, when you look at Cleveland's running back room, it really comes down to what is the confidence and the faith and the trust in Jerome Ford. If they think Jerome Ford showed a lot of promise and optimism for his second year, then they really shouldn't be looking all that closely at the running back market for an RB2 if they like Jerome Ford. What if they don't like Jerome Ford? Well, maybe Kareem Hunt could re-enter the mix. Last season for the Browns, it was not great for Hunt. 468 yards, 210 receiving yards, career low 3.8 yards a carry. Again, it is May. We all have memorized these numbers probably at this point, and I'm sure everyone is dug into their camp. Bring Kareem Hunt back or not, right? So what do you guys think? Drop 27 if you think they should, or give me a N for no. I think I said drop 27 as in like drop 27 push-ups. No, just put number 27 down in the comment section, or give me an N for no if you think they should, or if they think you should not. Anywho, Hunt looked like he lost a step in 2022. I'm not giving anyone a hot take right now, right? The question is, do they believe in Jerome Ford? He showed a lot of good things in his rookie season on special teams. He was a good returner at times, coming off kick returns when he came back from his high ankle sprain from Atlanta. But he only had 8 carries, I believe, 8 carries for 12 yards, something like that. So he is really untested, and he is more or less a rookie in a lot of ways in terms of being an RB2 and getting 60, 70, 80 carries next season, maybe even 100 carries if they want to lighten Nick Chubb's workload a little bit at times. So I'm not quite sure what the state of the union is on Jerome Ford. And maybe OTAs will be a big sign where if they get a glimpse of Ford not looking like an RB2, they pick up the phone and they make some calls to some agents and see which veteran back wants to come up to Berea. Well, now, before we get to our next story here, we've got a great deal going on at Fanatics. Now, I was talking to the boss here at Chat Sports when it comes to the Fanatics side of things, Brett Scott, and he said, and I kid you not, the top 2 sellers across all of our channels at Chat Sports in the last 30 days have been the Pittsburgh Steelers draft hats at number 1 and the Browns t-shirt combo here. No joke. So, if you want to beat the Steelers and also in the process get a t-shirt combo on sale, go to chatsports.com/CLE combo. We know spring is never quite spring in Northeast Ohio, so you can get a long sleeve t-shirt if it's a bit chilly at a Guardians game and have a short sleeve t-shirt when you're going to Berea in August to check out training camp. Moving on to our final story. Are the Browns going to sign Frank Clark? This appears to be one of the biggest storylines out there, and I'm going to give it 2 Bernie heads. I think it has some smoke to it, right? I think it holds some water when it comes to the Browns maybe signing the former Seahawk and Chief edge rusher. Now, where this story originates is a bit of a mystery. I'm going to put it down as the depths of Twitter. We saw Heavy.com, which is just that, Heavy.com, write about this potentially. Now, Frank Clark, some background on the guy, 3-time Pro Bowler in his last 4 seasons. He has been one of the best pieces on that Chiefs defense, especially in the postseason. So if the Browns don't want to play golf in January and they want to be winning playoff games, Frank Clark could be your man, right? He's entering his 9th season in the NFL, so he's still got some juice left in the tank. I don't think he is washed by any means. Now, in the last 4 years with the Chiefs, 5 sacks, 4.5 sacks, 6 sacks, 8 sacks. Imagine what he could do opposite Myles Garrett, though, right? The Chiefs didn't really have a Myles Garrett caliber player on their defensive line, so you pair him with Myles Garrett on a rotation so he can stay fresh. 5 sacks could balloon to 8, 9, 10 sacks. Now, in his career, 58.5 sacks, 14 fumbles or forced fumbles, 67 tackles for loss. He has been a double-digit sack player twice in his career, both with Seattle. With Cleveland on this defensive line, I mean, the room feels a bit crowded. You've got Myles Garrett. You have a free agent signing in Obo Okoronkwo. Don't you want to see how that three-year contract plays out? And then you've got a 3rd-round pick in Alex Wright, who I feel like we've all just somewhat given up on, it feels like, after just 1 season. And then your 4th-round pick out of Mizzou, Isaiah McGuire. So you want to add a 5th guy to the list? Unless they feel like Alex Wright could play defensive tackle a little bit, and you want to shuffle some players around and you kick in a guy on an obvious passing situation to get your 3 or 4 best pass rushers out there, I don't know if there really is room for one more player if they want to see what they have in McGuire and Wright and Okoronkwo, their previous investments through the draft and free agency. Having said all that, we are talking about Andrew Berry, and you just cannot rule this GM out for anything, right? He is the most aggressive NFL GM, maybe outside of Howie Roseman over the last 2 or 3 seasons. So if he feels that this team can get better with an acquisition for 2023, I don't think he's going to sit on his hands. Now, I think drafting Isaiah McGuire might put a bit of a a soft nail in the coffin, like halfway through the wood in terms of adding more veteran free agent defensive ends and pass rushers? Because don't you want to see what you have in your 4th round pick and, let him develop and ride out his rookie contract opposed to a 1-year deal, maybe not even vet minimum for Frank Clark, more like $5, $6, $7 million for this guy. So that could be what ultimately stopped Frank Clark from coming to Cleveland. But be the GM. Should the Browns sign Frank Clark? S for sign or P for pass? Give me your thoughts in the comment section.